Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rendezvous with Nandita. This time we have with us a filmmaker, an educator, and an artist. Aarti Bagdi has won the Filmfare for Khamakha. She is also the recipient of 9 International Film Festival Awards for Udne Do. During the lockdown last year, she realized she took pen to paper and she took the 100-day 100 artwork challenge, which got her featured in India Today cover page. These are some of the very basic things that I'm telling about. If I start reading her profile, I think I need another half an hour to read out what all she's accomplished. She's one person who has achieved at her own on her own and is somebody who would like to share her story with us today. I would like to welcome Aarti onto the show with us today. Hi, Aarti. Welcome to Rendezvous.
Hi, Nandita. Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful series that you're doing. And I'm very, very glad to be here today, especially like your focus point of people who are trying to break the glass ceiling and get into areas which are not familiar in their settings and surroundings. I think it's a wonderful topic and gives inspiration for many who possibly want to set out to do what they want to do. But before we start, I would want to offer a few prayers for the strange and tough times that we are in. It just, I think, will ease us in a little more. It just feels, yeah. So there are a couple of prayers that I have for all of us. One is, dear Lord, at this time of the pandemic, let us foster respect and solidarity with others, especially those who are weak or poor. Let us remain calm and ignore unsubstantiated rumors. Let us take advantage of living together as a family. Let us attend to moments of prayer. Let us cultivate responsibility, patience, and hope. And a moment of silence for all the people whom we have lost in our lives during this really tough time. I would also like to pray for my a very dear friend and a person who's been a tremendous influence and inspiration in my life, Julie Thomas. When I was working in Japan, she is currently in coma, and I'm completely heartbroken hearing this really terrible news. And so I would like to pray for her also before we get into the show.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Nandita.
Thank you. So, Aarti, thank you for starting on that note, because these have been unprecedented times. And I think each one of us is struggling at our own level because our near and dear ones are losing their battle to COVID, or we are associated with families who are going through the whole trauma of hospitals and being with them. So, thank you for starting on that note. Let me come back to you, and I wanted to share your journey from Chennai to the tinsel world of Mumbai. What was it all about, and why not Chennai? Why Mumbai? Because films happen in both the places. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And my favorite filmmaker, Mani Ratnam, is in Chennai. So, yeah. No, it didn't. It was not planned. It wasn't intended. It just happened by chance and accident. It is one of my most, I would say, fate drew me to it. So, I mean, as you know, typically I was raised in a large Marwadi joint family. So we have the whole Hindi culture, and we grew up in Hindi films and everything. So I was always attracted to all kinds of cinema. I mean, whatever, but mainly mainstream. We were just exposed mainly to mainstream cinema. And while growing up, and one of the films that always stayed back with me as a child, there were many, but one that did really stay back was this really huge, humongous hit called Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, which was by Rajshri Productions. And I remember after seeing the film, the first thought that came to me was, wow, what a lovely mind this person must have to create such a world of such love and warmth, and everything was evoking all that, right? It was a family setting that we all aspired, and like the bonds. Not, I'm not saying the grandeur or anything like that, but the bonds were beautiful. So so I was quite taken in by that entire relationship aspect that came through that film, and I really hope that one day I could meet the man who made this world. And a few years later, after I did my mass communication course, which happened to have films as one of the subjects, though I was never like directing myself towards that. I was possibly wanting to be more in the journalism space, but internship didn't work out. I was in Bombay. I'd come down to Bombay to do an internship with CNBC, but that didn't work out because they were going through some phase. So I said, okay, but I need to definitely do some internship in Bombay, because here the work culture is different, and that time, journalism was booming and production was booming, and I thought, okay, let me try an ad film house, or let me try. And then I came across, I remember sitting in one of my friend's houses, and she had this whole movie directory, and then I came across Rajshri Productions, and I remember, this was a production house that I really have liked. All their cinema, not only Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, but even the other stuff that my chachi had shown me, Upahar, and Aakhiyon Ke Jharoke Se, and 2-3 other films that she had shown me. And I was like, okay, they make sweet films. Maybe I should go and just see if there is. They seemed like a nice family house and all that. And then just ended up going there, ended up having a conversation, and one thing led to another. And they said, yeah, I ended up meeting the man himself, Mr. Barjatya, and he's Rajkumar sir. And he said, come, I think you should join us. Why do you want to go back and study? I said, no, I have to finish my course. This is just 2 months right now. So anyway, so then I joined in, and of course it opened up another world. I understood filmmaking in a very different way, and I got to understand why mainstream cinema is made the way it is made, and that was the start of many things.
So you don't come from a filmy background, if I may put it that way, right? So
not at all. We're a very traditional business Marwadi family, and dealing in ball bearings.
So were there issues at home? Why I want to bring this up is because a lot of us, when we don't come from families which are, or we take a route which is a road that is less traveled, or a untrodden path, as they say, there are a lot of obstacles, both in terms of, parents, families putting it, social pressure, and also our own mindset at times just doesn't allow us to step beyond. So I want you to share that journey with us. What happened to you when you went back home and you said you want to move to Bollywood and start movies?
I don't think any of them saw that coming. I think it was just, they really didn't expect me to, like, why have you shifted to films? I thought you were doing journalism. And this happened. Many things, of course, it was a slight of a battlefield, and they were not comfortable at all with the fact that I'm choosing to do films. But somehow the other couple of meetings with Raj sir, and the familiar settings, and the fact that their family was, that they had similar values that my family had, all that put my mother at ease, my father at ease, my mamaji also at ease. So many checks happened that way, and they said, okay, they seem to be like, they are people we can leave our daughter with. So yeah, that's how it all began. But I always ended up negotiating with them, one more film, and it was always like I always have to take a break, 2 months, make them realize that, listen, no, this is what I need to do, this is what I want to do. And for nearly 5-6 years, I kept negotiating after one film after another, and slowly, I think at one point, it was not always such a tough battle. I would say it was just like they were letting me do what I want to do, because I was working with good people, so, and that was key to them. And then they always knew that I had a creative side to me, so they were like, okay, fine, if this is what is your calling, they let me. But it was not easy. I mean, for them, the concern was, how will we find you a boy if you remain in this line? That was the biggest concern. कौन film वाली लड़की से शादी करेगा?
I can empathize. I can understand. Coming from.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, that was, I think, the only issue in their heads, that it just will become difficult to get you married. But otherwise, yeah, they were quite okay. I think at one point, so typically they would have these astrology sessions at home, and where some pandit would come and just say like, and they're like, at one point when I had left and come back to Bombay to continue working on the project, they said, "Abhi ye to wapas nahi aayegi, abhi yehi kaam karegi." So that's when they accepted, ये तो fate है, अभी इसका कुछ नहीं कर सकता.
So the astrologer played a key role in you being in Bombay. Okay, so all those who want to be out of their families or take the untrodden path, get hold of an astrologer, pay him something, and then go ahead.
Yeah,
that's a good one to learn. That's a good.
I was not even there in that meeting when they showed possibly my good news. So I'm glad that I didn't even have a hand to pay off the astrologer.
Yeah, so maybe others can start planting that kind of stuff. So,
Inception.
Aarti, you make it sound it was easy in terms of, you got Rashi Productions and it was an easy journey, but any phase of your life which was difficult, which made you, think, okay, what do I do now and how do I proceed and how did you overcome that? Because I'm sure all these years in Bombay would not have been really that easy.
No, you're quite right on that. And I'm so glad you're asking that question, because that is the reality check that we all need. So, yes, I did have a great start. I had great mentors. I worked with wonderful people, right from Mr. Ghai, Subhash Ghai sir, to Rajkumar sir, to Suraj sir. So it was all great. And then there came a point in time when I was invited by Suraj sir to come and direct like a feature for him, because he felt that he had trained me, and there were things that I was pitching to him and I was narrating to him. So he felt that I did have it in me to direct something for him, and we had similar thoughts, and somehow I think somewhere I felt that he did see a bit of himself in me. Maybe that's the reason also he wanted to encourage me to becoming a director. But it so happened that we worked very hard for nearly 3 years. I was working on like a project that was set in Japan and set in UK, and we were close to just 20 days before we were about to put the film project on floor. Like, we had recorded songs, we had a great cast, we had Farooq Sheikh, we had Kabaljeet Singh, we had Poonam Dhillon, we had the Tamanna Bhatia from Chennai. The lead South actress now in Chennai. So she was going to be playing the lead role, and there was a Japanese boy and all that. We had everything going, but circumstances came in, I think, in the whole world financial scenario. There was that Lehman crisis, the Great Depression that had happened around that time, when in the economic depression, basically, when there was no money in the market, 2008 or something like that. And then everybody was going slow with the money, and so suddenly I realized they put a stop to my project, saying that no, wait, let's wait for 6 months, let's wait it out, and this and that. So initially it didn't hit me that I thought, 6 months mein kuch chalu ho jayega wapas. So we were like, let's take it easy, let's start working on other subjects and this and that. Then they said, nahi, abhi is pe nahi kar sakte, this is too big a risk, because it's it requires a lot of money. So let's take a step back. Let's possibly work on another subject which will be more easy to achieve and much more commercial. So we started working again on a young love story, and again that whole process went on for a year, and I almost lost 4 years in that entire process. Okay, so 27 to 31, like really crucial years where I could have had a project on floor, didn't work out. So for whatever reasons, the company was going through a tough time. Then again, when my project was about to take off, the other projects didn't do well. So then it was affecting, like there was a whole butterfly effect that was happening, that was affecting my project. Again, it was put on hold. And around just before that project, I had also gotten married. So my husband was in Japan, I was here, and I was pursuing this dream of, and of course my husband was being very encouraging and saying, no, you should see it through. Whenever you need to come, you come. You keep working on what you're doing. And I was doing that, and the project also didn't happen, and I was having this long distance marriage, and it was just not working. So then I just felt that this is something I definitely need to detach myself from. Just like get away from this, obsession of the film world, possibly just explore something else, go live with my husband in Japan and possibly figure something out there, just take a break, so that period really was tough. Actually, it didn't even hit me the first time. It didn't even hit me second time. It hit like second time when they stalled the project is when it hit me. And then I realized that's, I think, when I had one of my breakdown moments. Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, am I making something of it or not? So there's so much I put at stake. I've like really, like for the past 10 years, whatever training I've got, plus after having gotten married, still I'm like not being able to be there with my partner. So, so things like that, you're putting a lot of yourself out there. And then everyone just helped me make a decision that no, I think it's time, people close to me helped me make a decision that just let's cut it off for some time. Maybe I need to detach. And then if it calls me again, it will call me again. And then I moved to Japan. But yeah, those years were very tough. I think those 2-3 years were very, very tough of not knowing whether things are going to work out or not.
So I will equate this, and I'm going to go a little deeper into this because that is a challenge most of us feel, when things don't work out, that whole call, whether you should give it a break, whether you should let it go, that's the first thing, whether you should try a little harder, or, you should give a pause and then come back. So I'm going to ask you questions around that because I think most of us in the current times are also facing this with reference to our work, our personal lives. What made you take those decisions? You said your family helped you, but what some of the things that you yourself looked within that helped you take those decisions? I wanted to answer that for me, please.
So I definitely knew possibly this is not the right time maybe for me to direct. That means maybe this is a way of me to realize maybe I need to learn more. I need to do more.
Okay.
I need to understand more. Maybe that's why this is the way it is happening the way. So I went about very logically then for those 3 years. I did a lot of reading and writing and research and watching movies and making tons and tons of notes. And, recently my husband discovered those notes somewhere on his laptop. It's like, my God, you've written so much. I said, yeah, I've forgotten. अभी तो एक ज़माना था जो हम notes लिखते थे. हमको ये फिल्म में क्या अच्छा लगा, क्या अच्छा नहीं लगा, क्या use कर सकते हैं. So that, I think that, yeah. So I think definitely, maybe that was a way for me to realize that maybe I need to learn more before I step into actually making something. So I took it like that maybe this is more learning to do before actually I end up making something. That was one of the things. And I think some amount of detachment also helps, that, okay, there is an obsession. You need to possibly sometimes just cut off and then maybe if it comes back to you, it comes back to you. So I took it in 2 ways. I saw it as a learning period and I saw it as a way to detach and then see if I need to get involved in it. If this is really the world for me, then I will possibly come back.
So that was your calling and you came back.
Yeah.
So tell us about the comeback then.
Yeah, so when I reached Japan, I ended up getting involved in films only over there. So, so I was making something by the side for myself, like, I was trying to put together a few short films over there. And then I ended up working in a film company, one of the largest film companies over there. But I was not more on the directorial front or anything, but more on the research side because everything was new to me. I didn't know the language, right?
Yeah,
So it was, so those were challenges over there. But I got to learn and understand a great work culture. And which was very immense, very dedicated, very, very to the time, very many things that, of course, I did have experience while working with the Prajatyas. They were quite similar to the Japanese that way. But yeah, okay. But in terms, so it was not all that new to me, but still but I knew they were that much more particular. So many things I got to understand and learn. Advertising was something I'd never done, and the core competition, core business was advertising. So we were trying to figure out how can a Japanese firm make a difference in India in the field of advertising. So things like that. So I was doing a lot of research for them, was consolidating a lot of stuff for them. And then we ended up doing an ad, which I was helping put together, which is the correct production team to go for all that with one of the Japanese directors there. Apart from that, along side by side, I was working on a few short films, out of which one short film called Time actually ended up becoming a huge viral film at that time.
Okay.
And that's when I realized that, okay, maybe I do have, so I ended up making 3 or 4 short films, out of which this film actually did especially well timed. It was a 10-minute film, very slow in its format, but it touched around 30 million views or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was not very well made. It was just the power of the story, like well made in the sense that with whatever limited resources we had, we did end up making. But because it was, I think, a very beautiful story written by Ahmed Fayaz, so I think it worked that way. And we had a very good cast. We had one of my friends, Pia Sukanya. We had Amardeep Jha, and we had Vikram Sahu. So it was sweetly made, and it ended up doing well. And then I realized, okay, maybe it's still, I do have it in me. Maybe I should pursue this because it's
That was your reaction.
yeah. And my producer Vinay actually of Khamakha movie, once he realized that this is doing well, he then called me and he said, you know, you've done, this film has done so well for you. Why don't you I'll give you whatever you need to make your next big short film. So I said, okay, yeah. So that you have something? I said, yeah, I have this one script that my husband only gave me the idea, and my sister fleshed it out, and my music director fleshed it out, and another friend, Vipula. So all of us, we 4 brains put heads together on the script, and I presented that script to him, and he said, yes, come, let's make it. And then luckily, I also got Harshvardhan Rane on board and Manjari Fadnis on board. They also loved the script. And then, of course, then we ended up making that film, and that film went on to create its own journey and story and the icing on the
How
cake.
did Udne Do happen now? Tell me that. 9 Filmfare Awards, 9
No.
international.
Yeah, so Filmfare was Khamakha.
Khamakha, that's what I said. So 9 international film festival awards for Udne Do. How did that happen?
Yeah, so after Khamakha, having won the Filmfare, one of my cousins actually put me in touch with gentleman Gaurav Ranade. So he is close to this philanthropist lady Usha Kakade from Pune, who runs at the ground level in Maharashtra lots of workshops on good touch and bad touch for kids. She has a foundation that actually she has a team of dedicated people who go to schools and municipal schools or in high schools or any kind of school, any strata, and basically train them on the topic of good touch and bad touch. And she wanted a film-like feel, which would actually convey the thought more effectively. And she didn't want it in the docu format. She wanted like a proper narrative structure to it. So 2-3 meetings happened. I understood from their research team like what kind of issues do they face, then how does this entire thing lead, and there are some really bad horror stories that you got to know, and then I felt more passionate than about the cause. And then we put a script together, and I reached out to Revati ji, who was so gracious, and so she did it as a passion project also, and she stepped in then to play the role of the principal, who was a very prominent role. So she stepped in, and then the film got its own grace and amazing feeling that comes through because of Revati ji. So we ended up making this, and it got like a proper release, and it was. We then started sending it across to festivals, and the 2 of the major festivals that I felt that it really did overwhelmingly well was it won a Grand Prix in Japan's largest children film festival, and it won. It was also awarded by the Ministry of Culture of Turkey, Hackis Foundation, also for films on crime against women and children. So these were the 2 big awards that it did get. Yeah, and then of course in India it won across 3-4 other circuits. So it also got a Filmfare nomination. It didn't win, but it got a Filmfare nomination. Yeah. So yeah, it was a very it had a very noble cause behind it, and that's how it happened.
So, in your industry, the name of the actor, producer, even a director matters a lot when it comes to selecting, and brands do play a very important role, not in terms of numbers alone, but also in the success of a movie, in terms of people going and watching. How important, I'm going to ask you a question which is a little off, is having a strong brand value important, or how important it is to have it in your industry? And I'm talking about film industry per se.
Brand value that comes from the person involved, like is it an Amitabh Bachchan film that way, or brand as in when you say like a Pepsi is supporting it? I'm not. Is that?
No, I'm
Is that
saying brand of the individual, not the. Yeah.
It does matter. I mean, for a common audience, especially when they open the page and they see the कि ये आज film ये release हुई है ये release हुई है. Like a normal audience will possibly want to go and watch their favorite actor's film. They will not go easily to watch a newcomer's film, like or someone who's struggling or still trying to make it. Unless the subject and the script is so outstanding that you actually anyway decide, it suddenly picks up word of mouth and everybody's talking about, hey, have you seen that film or not? Have you seen that film or not? Then, of course, but the brand value lasts only to invite your audience in.
Okay, so that was my next question. What holds you sustain that brand value? Because we say today a lot of actors, and I, with all due credit to their hard work, have thousands and lakhs of followers on Instagram, and they say if you have Instagram following, you get good movies on the OTT platform. Now, is this true? Being a director, one. To how long can you sustain it only through followers and likes? The question I would like you to answer.
So yeah, so it is an easy job done for the marketing team. That okay, great, they have 1 million followers. Let's sign this particular person. हमारा काम कम होता. My personal.
No, I agree. That's why I'm asking how what does it take to sustain that? I may get 1 lakh, 1 million followers. It's easy today. But what does it take to sustain that? And I'm not saying
you have to choose the right subjects. You have to choose the right script. You have to choose the right director. You have to choose, what is the script that you want to get associated with. Is this the story you want to tell? Is this the feeling you want to leave your audience with? These are things that an actor will have to pay attention, even a director will have to pay attention, that do I want to live with this script for the next 1 year of my life? So there are these things. This is what, finally, I think it's what you want to make. The content that you're making is actually going to make it happen for you more than the numbers game is only good up to a certain point. I think in the long run, it's finally what you are saying is of more value through your film.
So, Aarti, I have a question. As a director, can you choose topics that you like? Because, when we work, we in certain areas, when I say any one of us works, we are able to put more passion into something which we feel more associated with. Like you said, when you heard about the story of the good touch, bad touch, you felt associated with it. So when you put in your heart and soul, it connects with you at a personal level. You're able to add more value. I'm not saying otherwise you don't, but do you as directors or do you as artists have the flexibility of choosing only a particular kind of genre of films, or how does it work?
Ideally, yes. I mean, you should want to choose whatever you're making. You should have the I think the privilege possibly to choose, but it never always works out. Sometimes you do it because okay, maybe a good experience, maybe I'll learn something. So then you do it for those reasons. Then you search for those positive reasons, and then do a particular subject or something. So, or sometimes there are, like for instance, starting from last lockdown to this lockdown, we started on making a lockdown feature, which was 3 stories within my society itself. So we've almost finished shooting it. We're just having 1.5 days balance. Now we're waiting for this lockdown to open up so that we can do that. But yeah,
Okay.
but it was the kind of constraints that we were in that we ended up making this kind of a film. But of course, we're telling stories that we want to tell, you know, and what is possible and achievable in the kind of surroundings that we are in. So yeah, it's a 110-minute film, and I'm hoping, So I'm hoping that we will be able to at least maybe release it within this year.
Okay, an OTT platform?
Yeah, I think so. OTT. We'll be targeting. Yeah.
So Aarti, I remember having a conversation with you long back when we started, and you said I never had a godfather, but today I am trying to be a godmother too. How does that transition feel?
I didn't say anything like this, and I have godfathers. Oh God, please. I never said something like that. So no, I have godfathers. I have, and I'm not at all godmother material.
No, not by age. I'm not talking that way, but you were helping other.
No, not by age also, but no, I'm not. I don't have the natural tendency to be a godmother also. I'm more like a friend kind of a person. So
Okay.
but I do have had godfathers, and I have them. My first godfather was Rajkumar Sir, Raj Sir Barjatia. He was my first. Second was Suraj Sir, whom I learned under, and third is Mr. Subhash Ghai. These three are I've always been. If there are times when I'm working on something, I always think, okay, what would they do, you know, or how would they deal with the situation like this? Something I would have possibly seen has stayed in my mind, and then I operate in that way and work it out. And so there are some qualities from Suraj Sir, some qualities from Raj Sir, some qualities from Subhash Sir. Like that's how I've actually learned and gone through that. No, I've been very grateful to have that.
No, what I meant is it's about mentors. Yes, of course, all of us need and we should have. That's where I was coming.
No, so I'm not yet the mentor type of the person.
Okay. So, Aarti, I'm going to move to the next section, which is more in terms of, a rapid fire round. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Shoot away.
So, the first question for you is, which of your counterparts do you get inspired by?
Counterparts? As in?
People from around.
From my personal life.
No, personal, it's professional, personal, both. So anybody, I would prefer professional. If you can name somebody, that'll be nice. Who inspires you?
A lot of people, yeah. A lot of people. It's very difficult.
Give me one or two names.
Someone I know, right? Like not just randomly, right?
Yeah, preferably somebody you know, yeah.
Yeah, so Suraj Sir, Subhash Sir, these two people have always inspired me, and now also the me actually. But yeah, if I have to pick two names, these two.
Okay. If I ask you to define Aarti Bagdi in one word, what would that be?
Diligent.
Okay. One song that represents your life the best.
Whoa, I wish you'd asked, sent me a private note on this.
I told you I'm not going to share the rapid fire at all.
Okay. I love the song Bhage Re Man, I feel. I think that's one song that whenever it makes me feel like I can fly.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
One thing you wish you could undo in life? Or in other words, one regret that you have?
I shouldn't have taken science in 11th and 12th. I should have.
Can I give you a same pitch for that?
Yes. my biggest regret. I don't know what that has served me. Nothing.
I was maths and bio both, and I really don't know why I took
Oh
it even
God,
today.
maths and bio book. I was still not bio. I had computers and all, but I really was. I don't know what made me choose.
Okay, next one. One thing you want to change about yourself.
So I used to read a lot, a lot. I would finish like 2, 3 books in a day. I wish I had that voracious appetite again.
Okay.
Like now I'm struggling even to finish one book in a month. So I really, really have to, like, I think I have to do these challenges that I keep putting myself at. The 100 sketch challenge. Now I'm on a run challenge. So I think now I'll take a book challenge and then only I'll be able to do it.
Okay, what is your personal brand statement?
So I think I would anything that has warmth and a sense of rawness and intimacy. I think that would be mine. That comes across as genuine.
Beautiful. Okay, one more thing. Real life influences real life or vice versa?
You're asking me real life
influences real life or vice versa?
I think the former. Real life influences real life.
Okay.
I think in today's times it's real life influences real life.
Okay. Last question. What is a legacy you want to leave behind?
Ooh. Like I've been a great filmmaker. I've told great stories. I think, yeah. I think that I've touched hearts in different ways. Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay. Any advice to upcoming film directors or people from not so-called film families and people who have big dreams coming to Bombay? What is your one advice to them?
That have the patience if you love the craft, and things will come through.
Beautiful. That's sweet. And thank you so much for coming in, Aarti. It was a pleasure talking to you. And
thank you so much.
I love the way you smile. I just, there's so much of positive energy around you. It's really, really lovely to speak to you during such times where everything around us is just so scary. So thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, I'm so glad to have done this with you, Nandita. Your questions were so pertinent and so well thought and deep, and I'm really glad to have shared whatever I could in the best way.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Pleasure. My request to all our viewers, please be safe, stay positive. And like Aarti said, please do not spread rumors, because I think our WhatsApp is filled with messages whose verification is not done. And anyone in times of crisis, the last thing they want to do is call up a wrong number and to be told nothing can be done. So stay positive, stay safe, and may we all have the strength together to tide through this bad times. So thank you so much for coming in. Take care. Till next time. Bye-bye.